What's going on, guys? This is Bunny Muffins. I have accounts in Challenger and Grandmaster, and as set 1, the beta season is winding down. I want to show you guys a tier list for the final stretch. I want to make this a recurring series, so I'll be hosting Tier List Tuesday every 2 weeks to recap each patch in the middle of its cycle. Today, I'll be doing a champion tier list. In the future, we could also look at item or composition tier lists. I could also provide less explanation for a shorter video, or more in-depth analysis. So let me know what you guys want to see in the comments down below. I am going to define the tiers as follows. S tier. This means that they are the best champions and you should always play compositions built around them. A tier. These champions are the carries in A tier comps or are completely broken early game and can be used for transitioning. B tier. These champions have strong power windows but do not quite have the same power as those in tier A. C tier. No one ever actively goes for these units, or they are not necessary to complete a composition. Maybe it is because they're item dependent, maybe it's because they're weak or situational. However, if you get an upgraded version of this unit for free, you generally take it. But they're not generally critical for your composition. D tier. These champions are great for completing that last synergy for your composition, but aren't that great units on their own. F tier. You generally don't want to be running these guys for a long period of time. Maybe it's because they don't fit in the meta, or maybe they're just plain weak. Before we get into this, I'd like to specify that these are in no particular order of strength within a tier. At S tier, we have Kai'Sa. She is by far the strongest unit if she gets perfect items, often able to 1v4 even combinations of other S tier champions with great items. Her one drawback is that she is highly item dependent and her compositions are difficult to complete. She is also quite useless at level 1 without Giant Slayer. Pantheon can use any item, is strong at 1 star, and can take over games at 2 star. With Dragon being the best synergy and having % max health true damage, he is an easy pick for most compositions. Aurelion Soul, the most contested dragon with a powerful AoE ultimate. He can be put in without items, or he can be geared up to one-shot enemy teams. He is the core of the dragon compositions. Lulu has the strongest synergy in the game, Yordle and Sorcerer. Despite being a 2 cost, she is the second best sorcerer in the game and does not often get replaced late game. When completed early, it is almost impossible to lose in combination with a damage carry. Yordle counters Giant Slayer, while Sorcerer is the most common synergy in this patch. Gnar is a quintessential shapeshifter Yordle carry. He counters all backliners and has a game-changing ultimate. His wild synergy allows him to be a threat after he transforms with his massive damage. Jinx is the best hyper carry and can carry behind both brawlers and knights. Hextech can win games against teams stronger than you, and she is also the best user of Giant Slayer with her built-in attack speed buff. She is the most accessible champion for hyper carry compositions. At A tier, we have 2 different groups of champions. One are just solid units, the others are super strong early and mid-game carries. Starting with the solid units, we have Draven. Draven is weaker than Jinx since he does not use Giant Slayer as well as her, but he does hard counter Kai'Sa with his high physical damage. Draven is also less versatile as Jinx, as he really only fits within a knight composition. Next we have Vi. Vi is the second best brawler. She has a Hextech synergy which perfectly complements Jinx. Since Hextech only requires 2 units to be activated, along with Vi being a very strong unit with the AoE ultimate, she's a no-brainer to put at A tier. She is also very useful to dump oddball items on. For example, she's a great user of Frozen Heart, which uses armor and tier, 2 things that really aren't that great in this meta. Poppy is a great knight, but also has crucial Yordle synergy, making her easily fit in most compositions. In Yordle Sork, she has built-in dodge and can one-shot many units with her ultimate. When she's used in knights, she's super tanky. Now onto the elementals. Brand is the best elemental, and after his buff he got even stronger. With Jeweled Gauntlet he can one-shot entire teams. He is a great demon as well to be used in conjunction with your early game demons, making him very easy to plug in. Kenan's pretty decent on his own, but amazing with items. With just a Guardian Angel he can single-handedly carry the mid-game even at 1 star. With Morello and Redemption added in, he is the strongest mid-game unit. Now we move on to the early and mid-game carries. Lissandra, with the right items, can win every early game matchup. Morello and GA are a good place to start. Lissandra is the strongest item holder for Sorcerer and Imperial transitions, as she holds great items for Swain and can hold AP items for Sorcerers. Zed is hands down the strongest 2-cost unit in the game. If you get him to level 2, you can win every game regardless of the strength of the rest of your team up to stage 3-2. Zed can also hold any item for your team before you sell him for any transition. Aatrox is similar to Zed. People can sometimes complete him after Zed's usefulness runs out, as Aatrox will do the same exact thing as Zed, single-handedly carrying people past wolves and beyond. Varus is super strong early, but doesn't quite carry as hard as Zed, as he needs a front line. However, Varus can be used for a longer time than Zed, as he does not fall off as hard. One drawback is that he is not quite as powerful as Aatrox in the mid-game. Think of Varus as a weaker Zed and Aatrox with the advantage that he can be used for a wider range of the game. Now we move on to the B tier, which is similar to A but not quite as powerful. There are 3 categories that I have found. First is strong late game units, second is powerful synergy units, and third is early game carries. Starting with the late game units, we have Akali. She's highly underrated as assassin compositions can easily top 4 because they're so easy to complete. Akali is by far the best value unit in terms of strength versus how easy they are to collect to 2 stars. If you happen to get an Infinity Edge and Dragonclaw, I would look into going Assassins with Akali for an easy top 4 and a possible 3rd or 2nd finish. Cho'Gath is the best brawler with a huge AoE CC ultimate. With Void synergy, he can complement Kai'Sa in the super late game. Lastly, we have Sejuani. Very similar to Cho'Gath, Sejuani is the best knight with a huge AoE CC ultimate as well. Moving on to synergy units, we have Nidalee. Nidalee is a wild shapeshifter similar to Gnar, so it's very logical to play her whenever you have a Gnar, or want to transition to Gnar. She's also the strongest 1-cost unit in the early game, so when she's upgraded, she can carry the first few rounds. She can also be an item holder for hypercarry compositions with Giant Slayer. Ahri is a wild sorcerer, making her ideal for Yordle Sorks as she complements both sorcerers and Gnar. Her true damage makes her quite useful in this dragon meta, and worst case, you could use her as an item carrier for Aurelion Sol. Twisted Fate is a fantastic sorcerer. While Pirate is pretty useless, his blue card activates your entire team. He is game-changing with Kennen and Gnar giving them mana for their powerful AoE CC ultimates. He's also useful as an item carrier, being able to use both attack speed and AP items. Morgana is a solid sorcerer, but is very useful when using elemental sorcerers, as she has a demon synergy that works with Brand. She also follows up Kennen's ultimate very well, giving multiple sources of AoE CC and damage. Next we have Shyvana. She can be quite powerful with items, but she is strongest when used with Aurelion Sol for Dragon synergy. She's extremely powerful in the mid-game before people complete their 2-star 4-cost units. Next we have Kindred, who's very strong, giving death immunity to hypercarries such as Jinx and Draven. Phantom is completely game-breaking since you can easily win matchups when you're much weaker with it. Lastly, we have our solid early game units. Starting with Shen, he's a great item holder, and with his ninja buff, he can carry similarly to Zed, but just on a reduced scale. Rengar is a beast in the mid-game. He's like a weaker version of Aatrox, and shines in terms of single target damage. Lastly, we have all our 1-cost knights. Knights are incredibly versatile and can transition into any composition due to their low cost, so you don't have to invest much to get these units, but you get a lot of value out of them. Mordekaiser is great for damage. Garen is great for AoE and magic immunity, and Darius is great for AoE as well. I like Darius more than Garen in the early game due to his healing, while I like Garen as the game goes on since he has partial magic immunity. Darius is also great for Imperial synergy. At C tier, we have units which are fantastic if upgraded for free, but often feel lackluster compared to other units within their classes, origins, or their cost. 1-star legendaries such as Kayle, Yasuo, Karthus, and Swain feel so weak, and I generally prefer to use their 2 or 3 cost counterparts that are upgraded. At 2-star, these units are pretty strong, but in the case of Swain and Yasuo, they really need perfect items to shine. I like Guardian Angel and Morello Namicon for Swain, and for Yasuo, I like Warmogs and on-hit items. But even then, they're outclassed in this meta by Pantheon and Kai'Sa. However, if you get any of these legendaries to 2 stars without rolling, I wouldn't really complain. Next, we have Katarina, Blitzcrank, and Lucian. All of these are fantastic at carrying early and mid game, similar to their A and B tier counterparts. However, they're not quite as strong, or they fall off a little earlier than them. D tier are for units that are solely used for their synergies because the units themselves are either very weak, their synergy is inconsistent, or just flat out aren't strong in this meta. These units are Elise for Shapeshifter Demon, Jace for Hextech Shapeshifter, Kha'Zix for Assassin Void with Kaisa, Kassadin for Sorcerer, Rek'Sai, Warwick, and Volibear for Brawler, Gangplank for Gunslinger and Blade Master, Pyke for Assassin, Leona for Noble and Guardian, Veigar for Yordle Sork, and Anivia for Elementals. One note on Anivia, she is strong in Ranger metas where carries tend to not do that much damage so the games go longer, but since this meta is all about hyper carries that blow up teams very quickly or dragons, she's very weak right now. F tier units you want to avoid, if possible, at every stage in the game. They simply get outshined by every other champion. Their synergies are also very weak. Starting at the 1 cost, we have Camille, Graves, Tristana, Vayne, and Fiora. Gunslingers are just not very good, and these units tend to get replaced very quickly. You really only want to play them in stage 2. At 2 cost, we have Braum. He gets outshined by a lot of the other Guardians, and Guardian frankly just isn't very strong right now because most damage in this game is either true damage or magic damage. He is pretty decent against Draven if people are playing him though. Evelynn and Ashe are at 3 costs. Rangers aren't meta, and Evelynn got nerfed way too hard, and Assassins aren't meta, so she's not really that strong right now. Lastly, we have Misfortune as a lone legendary unit. Gunslingers are just not a thing right now, so I just avoid her unless you get her to 2 costs for free. And even then, she's pretty questionable to put in right now. Wow, that was a lot, but that's it for the Set 1 champions. Let me know what you think about this tier list. In the future, do you want one for items, compositions, or synergies as well? How far into the patch would you like these videos? I feel like the 1 week into the patch timing allows this list to be accurate while also being useful for the next week. Let me know down in the comments section below, and I'd love to continue to make this a recurring tier list Tuesday video. The next one will be on November 12th. Thanks so much for sticking around and watching this whole thing. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on my socials below.